Welcome back to OT Sports and welcome back to our Week 11 edition of the College Football Top 25 rankings. Last week, when I made this video, I actually recorded it before the College Football Playoff rankings, the official ones, came out. So this week will be my first week recording with knowledge of the College Football Playoff rankings. I just finished watching the Top 25 reveal of the rankings, and yeah, it was fun to see how mine compared to them. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We got college basketball every Monday, this every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA every Thursday. So you're gonna want to make sure you subscribe and make sure you don't miss out. But yeah, it's enough talking. Let's just hop right into the top 25. Number 25, I got Kansas State. I still got them in my top 25 after the loss. Now 6-3, but they played. Um, they actually didn't even play that great in this game. They were losing the majority of it. Texas had some big turnovers late in the game, and Kansas State kind of got back into it, forced OT. Uh, yeah, I would probably have kicked the field goal in overtime to tie the game. I know they were saying, well, the special teams hasn't been there, but the guy just made a game tying field goal to send it to overtime. Anyways, so like I probably would have kicked the field goal. Kansas State looked like the better team in overtime, but the Texas defense got a huge stop on 4th and goal. And yeah, so unfortunately Kansas State comes up a bit short, but I didn't fault them too much. It was on the road in Texas. Texas is a great team. I know they're without their starting quarterback, but they were this close. I actually predicted them to win. Yeah, I came up just short. Next, this week, got a game up against Baylor. I think they should rebound just fine and win this one. Number 24, I got UNC. I put them back in the top 25. They had the two really bad losses recently. They rebound against Campbell, so good for them, I guess. They probably aren't gonna make the ACC championship game. Unfortunately, it's looking like Louisville's gonna run the table. I believe Florida State's already clinched a spot in the ACC title game, so that is interesting. But yeah, I mean Louisville will probably be that team to make it in. Uh, but I got them in the top 25. They're playing against Duke, which this Duke team has been ranked for the majority of this year. So normally this would be like a game you would see in February or March for basketball. But no, this is a very important game for the ACC and just for the entirety of college football in general. North Carolina and Duke, two good football teams. Whoever wins this game will be ranked next week. If North Carolina loses, they'll obviously get kicked out because they're only at 24. I do think North Carolina will lose. I think Duke goes into Chapel Hill, and I think Duke actually does come away with a win against North Carolina. I don't know. I just think they're the better team. North Carolina does have it at home. This one's kind of a coin flip, but I did go with Duke. I believe Riley Leonard's playing. James Madison at 23. I still got him in the top 25. The committee does not seem to like James Madison very much. I was pretty sure they would get ranked in their first edition, but then today especially I thought they would get ranked. They still left him out. It's unfortunate that they can't get a New Year's Six Bowl or conference championship game. They did send a letter to the NCAA asking them about it. We'll see what they decide. This is pretty much a scrimmage against UConn. UConn's a horrible team. Tennessee just destroyed them, and I expect James Madison to do the same. Number 22, I got Arizona. This is kind of my team that I've been on. This is kind of my. I don't know, the team that I've been talking about a lot. It's kind of flying under the radar. Ever since they were 3-3, I've been saying they are the best 3-loss team in the country, and now they're 6-3. They got a pretty nice win streak going, and I don't know. They picked up some big wins. They came just short against USC and Washington, and I mean they just beat UCLA the week before. They beat Oregon State. They got some nice wins. This week they're going into Boulder, and I thought about Colorado on this one actually, but I am gonna stay with Arizona. I don't know. I trust them. Trust them more. Colorado hasn't been very good recently. They're just falling apart. I believe they are on a 5-game losing streak, but I might be mistaken. Number 21, Tulane. I got the second and last, I guess, highest group of 5 team in here. Moving up to, they barely sneak away with a win against East Carolina, who's a 1-8. So to be honest, I probably should have dropped them, but I don't know. I don't know. The teams ahead of them kind of lost, so they kind of just moved up virtue of that. They got a game against Tulsa. I think they should rebound with a nice win against them. Number 20, I got Notre Dame moving down 8 spots. Yeah, they didn't look very good on the road against Clemson. I thought about that one being an upset, but just because the rivalry, Clemson's a hard place to play at. But I didn't pick it because I don't know. I thought Notre Dame was by far the better team in this matchup. But Clemson just right from the get-go came out firing on all cylinders, and they were in control of the game for the majority of it, pretty much the entire thing. In all honesty, they had the fumble at the end when I thought the game was over. I was about to flip the channel, and then all of a sudden I see Clemson fumbles the ball, gives Notre Dame a chance. Clemson defense comes up with a stop. So Notre Dame gets handed its 3rd loss. I dropped them down 8. You can't be losing to Clemson. They are not that good this year. Now, I know it's on the road. It's rivalry. It is still Clemson, but, I don't know. I had to fault them some. They're on bye this week, so no game prediction for them in that one. Number 19, LSU, moving down 6. Yeah, this is kind of similar to the Notre Dame situation, although not as much because LSU is playing against a very good Alabama team, and it was on the road. It was a night game, so this one was always going to be a tough one to win. And Alabama is really coming together, and for LSU, they were in the game for a while. They put up quite a fight. I hope Jaden Daniels is okay, because if they are without him, they could be in trouble. He is a very good playmaker for their offense. So that would be very unfortunate if they were without him for any time. I mean, he's a favorite to win the Heisman. So, but yeah, Alabama in the second half really just pulled away with it. But LSU gave them quite a fight. They were actually winning in the 3rd quarter by 7. Alabama's defense came up with some stops, and LSU just couldn't really get themselves back into the game. But so I had to drop them 6, but this was a very tough game. They do have 3 losses now, so I had to drop them. They got a game coming up against Florida. They should be able to win. I'm not really too worried. I think Jaden Daniels is playing, but I'm not sure. Even without him, I think they should be able to still win. Tennessee at 18. I don't really understand why the committee moved him up so high. The committee had him up at like 14 or 15. I mean, they moved him up like 4 or 5 spots, but they just beat UConn. UConn's 1-8, not a good team at all. They got the upcoming game against Missouri, though. This could get interesting. It is in Missouri, which I think is pretty huge. I don't know. I haven't really been high on Tennessee the entire year. I've kind of been lower on them. And Missouri did just look pretty good against Georgia. I gotta go Missouri. It's on the road. That's gonna be a tough one. Oklahoma at 17. moving down 7 spots, and I predicted this. I said Oklahoma State was going to win this game. Um, People were telling me I'm crazy, but I don't know. It was in Bedlam at Oklahoma State, so that's already a huge advantage to have that big of a rivalry game at home. But also, I said Oklahoma State would get the last jab in the Bedlam, and they did. Um, they knocked off Oklahoma, and I just want to say, Ollie Gordon is phenomenal running back. He's like put himself in the Heisman conversation. I know he's not going to win it, but he is probably within the top 10. At least I would say he is a very good player. And yeah, Oklahoma comes up just short against Oklahoma State, and this is very bad for the Sooners because they still did have um, a chance at the playoff with only one loss. If they were to beat Texas again in the championship game, that could be very big for them. But they now get their second loss, eliminating them from the playoff, and they might not even get into the Big 12 championship game. Looking at it right now, they are behind Oklahoma State, Texas, and Kansas, so they're in fourth right now, tied with Kansas State, West Virginia, and Iowa State. And yeah, Kansas has the tiebreaker over them. Oklahoma State is a game ahead, same with Texas. So they're in a very rough spot right now. Obviously, no playoffs. They could still get to a New Year's Six bowl if they were to win out and possibly get into the Big 12 championship game somehow. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see how the Big 12 plays out. But right now, it's looking like Texas, Oklahoma State, which could get very interesting. They got a game against West Virginia. This is huge for the Big 12 standings. I do think Oklahoma rebounds. I think they should win this game. It's at home. Number 16, I got Kansas moving up 5 spots. Now, I almost had Kansas a lot lower than this because kind of forgot how they beat Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. But then, yeah, now with the same record and Kansas having the head-to-head win over them, I had to put Kansas above them. They picked up a big win in that Big 12 race against Iowa State, kind of solidifying themselves, I guess, as the next team out from the top two. They're sitting there in third, and they got to win this one against Texas Tech. I think they will. I'm going 35-24. Number 15, Missouri, moving down one. They looked pretty good against Georgia. They hung around for a while. Georgia did start to pull away in the third, but I don't know. I didn't feel like faulting Missouri too much. It was on the road against the number 2 team in the country. That's just a huge disadvantage, and they really proved themselves to me, at least, as a legitimate team. They were leading in the second half at one point, and they had it within a one-score game for the majority of the fourth quarter. And yeah, they had a lot of chances. They just couldn't capitalize on those chances. Yeah, they came up just short, so that's unfortunate for them. I only dropped them down to one. Now they're playing up against Tennessee. I already said I think they win this one. I don't know. Tennessee, I'm not too high on them. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Missouri's at home. They really impressed me. I know they lost to Georgia, but they are legit, and they got a lot of guys on offense. They got a lot of offensive playmakers, especially Luther Burden. He's probably going to be a first-round draft pick. He is one of the better receivers in college football. And yeah, I don't know. I think Missouri's legitimate. Alright, I'm here at 15. Number 14, I got Utah. I don't know why the committee has them so low. They didn't move at all with a bunch of teams in front of them losing. Yeah, I got them at 14. I know they just struggled heavily against Oregon, so maybe that's why. I mean, I could see it, but I don't know. I think Utah's still a very good team. They proved it this week, dominating Arizona State 55-3. But now the big test for them is at Washington in Husky Stadium. This is going to be a very tough game, but I'm also intrigued to see how this one plays out, because this could this could jump Washington into the top four, but also if Utah were to win this game, Utah could end up sneaking into the Pac-12 championship game if some things go their way. Um, and that would be very huge for Utah winning a road game against Washington, which I think is very much possible because I don't know, I just like the matchup. I like the matchup how they match up against um, how they match up against Washington. The defense, like I just Washington's defense has not been very good at all this year. I'm just gonna keep it simple. Utah has had a very nice defense. I know they got blown out against Oregon, but 35 points against that Oregon offense is not horrible. Our offense didn't show up in that game, which I am a little worried that the offense might not show up in this game with it being a road game. I ultimately I don't think the offense will be able to keep up against Washington's. I think the defense could create some turnovers, but like I said, I just have a hard time seeing anybody stopping this Washington offense and Michael Penix. So I gotta go Washington, but I don't know. The matchup is interesting in this one. Number 13, Oklahoma State. They have really impressed me, and I probably should have had them ranked last week. In all honesty, that's on me. They had the early losses to South Alabama and Iowa State, but since then they've picked up win after win, winning 5 in a row against good teams too: Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma. Besides Cincinnati, those are all pretty good teams. Um, I mean, 3 of them are ranked in my top 25. When West Virginia is still 6-3, very good team. Yeah, so Oklahoma State's been very impressive, and they get the big one against Oklahoma. That's good for their morale. Now, hopefully, they don't come out sleepwalking against UCF. Ultimately, I don't think they do. I think they can run the ball all over UCF. UCF has not been very impressive in Big 12 play. I'm going to go Oklahoma 37-14, and I hope they can hold on to that. I hope they can stay in the Big 12 championship game, because if they can, they could make things interesting for the selection committee if they beat Texas, because that would eliminate Texas from the playoff conversation. And I mean, it probably would actually help the committee in their decision-making process, just because it would clear up some of those one-loss teams. But then again, that would be just a historic comeback after getting blown out by South Alabama, coming all the way back. Just want to say Mike Gundy is a great head coach, and Ollie Gordon is a fantastic player. I'm pretty sure he's a running back, but I might just be making this up. I thought I heard something he was a running back, but yeah, okay, he is. I just had to make sure, because for some reason something in my mind just like I doubted myself for a second, but yeah, he is a running back. He is averaging 7 yards a carry. I mean, 12 touchdowns through 9 games. That's very good. So yeah, I got Oklahoma State at 13. Very good team. Back-to-back orange teams. Number 12, I got Oregon State, moving up 4 spots. The defense is one of the better in college football. They have a very good defense. The defense pretty much shut out Colorado. They got a safety in this game, which was weird. But yeah, the defense really just dominated Colorado all game. Colorado scored a late garbage time touchdown to make it 26-19 instead of 26-12. So there's that, but Oregon State does win. And yeah, they were in control for the majority of this one. They got a home game against Stanford. I don't think they struggle. I think the defense will be able to hold Stanford. I'm not really too worried about Stanford's offense. And as of right now, I think Oregon State is probably the 3rd best team in the Pac-12. I don't think Utah is quite there. Oregon State did beat Utah. Utah's close, though. And I think Arizona and USC and UCLA are probably um, a little far behind. So Oregon State is probably, if there was any team to get Washington and Oregon out of the Pac-12 championship game, it would be Oregon State, because Oregon State's final 2 weeks are Washington and Oregon. So that kind of just says they have Washington at home, which I think could be very interesting. That's next week. I'm going to have to think about that game. And then Oregon on the road, the last Civil War game, that also could be interesting just because it's a rivalry game. I know it's on the road, but Oregon State has a shot to somehow sneak into the Pac-12 championship game. I wouldn't be shocked if they do it. They're a good team. Number 11, I got Louisville. They are the my lowest ranked one-loss team. Well, lowest ranked Power 5 one-loss team. But yeah, this is how the committee separated. This is how the AP poll separated. This is how I separate it. I kind of went two-loss teams, and then behind the two-loss teams were all the three-loss teams with very good resumes and tough schedules, like LSU, Notre Dame, Kansas State, and also the group of 5 teams like Tulane, and I think I had some 2-loss teams in there with a little bit weaker resume also. And then I have the 2-loss. Then this is kind of the start of the 1-loss tier. And honestly, I think Louisville, if I had to make tiers, I think Louisville's probably in those 2-loss team tiers, just because the ACC is so weak this year. Even if Louisville were to win out, I don't know if they make the playoffs. That's probably, I mean, I don't know if that's crazy to say when you look at it. They will have some big wins. They'll have a win over Notre Dame. They will have a win over Florida State in the championship game if they were to win out and win the ACC. But the ACC is just very weak this year. Yeah, their wins would be, again, their good wins would be Florida State and Notre Dame. They would also have wins over like teams like Duke, Miami, Kentucky. But I just don't know if that's enough, and they'll still have that bad loss to Pitt. I just don't know if that's enough for them. Yeah, just with the ACC being so weak, and with there being a plethora of one-loss teams to choose from, as of right now at least, I think the only way a one-loss ACC champ would be able to get in is if it was Florida State. I don't think Louisville. I think it's a very slim chance for Louisville to get in. It is a possibility if there's some chaos, but I just don't see it. They got a game against Virginia coming up. I think they should win pretty easily. Number 10, Ole Miss, surviving against A&M. That was a close one. So I dropped them down one, just because I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know if I can trust Ole Miss. I know they're 8-1, and they could make things very interesting in the SEC if they were to take out Georgia this week. Be a one-loss team. They would have to have Alabama lose twice, which is unlikely with how good Alabama's been playing. But Ole Miss could potentially make the committee have some very tough decisions to make, because if they were to beat Georgia, and then they would be a one-loss team with they wouldn't have played in the conference championship game, but the committee would take a look at them with that huge one against Georgia and some other good wins. They have a win over Tulane. They also have a win over LSU. They got a pretty good resume. Ole Miss could be a team that is like a dark horse to make the playoffs. Yeah, they would have some nice wins. So the committee would definitely look at them for sure. But for this game, I do think it will be close. I think Ole Miss will hang around. But Kirby Smart is, in my opinion, a whole lot of a better coach than than Kirby Smart is a whole lot of a better coach than Lane Kiffin, and it's in Athens, which is a huge advantage for Georgia. Georgia just took down Missouri, who's a good team. They get another one at home. Maybe they're worn out and maybe they can't keep up, but I don't know. I trust Kirby Smart to coach his team up. I think Georgia will win. It's just hard to pick against them. They've won however many they've won in a row, and the coaching is there, and they've been playing very good recently. So I gotta go Georgia. But if Ole Miss were to pull this off, this would make the playoff race just that more chaotic, which is why we needed the 12 team playoff this year more than ever. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that. I wish there was some way, because I would love to see teams like Ole Miss, Louisville, Penn State get a chance to play in a playoff game. Speaking of Penn State, number 9, I got Penn State moving up 2. They jump over teams like I think they were 11 last week behind Oklahoma and Ole Miss. They jump Oklahoma obviously, but they also jump Ole Miss. They looked very dominant against Maryland. Maryland's not a horrible team. It was on the road, and the defense shut them down. The offense played great. I was actually very impressed with what I saw from Penn State after them having a disappointing game against Indiana. That was not good. But they played very good, and I was a little worried they would sleepwalk with the game this week against Michigan. I was worried they would sleepwalk against Maryland. They did not do that. They dominated. And now they got Michigan coming to town. Having this in Happy Valley is huge. I don't think people are talking about that enough. Having this in Happy Valley is a huge advantage. Penn State's probably going to white out. I feel like they always say how they have like one specific whiteout game, but I feel like it's just every home game. This one is going to be a defensive battle. I think, honestly, like, both these teams have great defenses, like elite defenses, so it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't know. I feel like the matchup is just more favored towards Michigan, just because the run game, the line, the trench play. J.J. McCarthy, I feel like I trust him a lot more than Drew Aller. I trust Michigan's playmakers more. I trust their defense more. I think Penn State will be able to hang around in this one. This is Michigan's first true test. Penn State has already been tested against Ohio State, so Drew Aller's already played in big games before. This one he'll get at home. This is Michigan's first true test, so maybe they struggle a bit, but I can't go against Michigan. I don't know. The matchup is leaning Michigan in my view. I'm a big matchup guy, so I'm going Michigan 27-20. Alabama looks very impressive against LSU, and I am very impressed with what I see from the Crimson Tide. If they went out there in the playoffs, I think that's fair to say. And if they lose, they're not. So that's they control their own destiny. And Jalen Milroe and them have really turned it on. The defense was getting stops in the second half, which was very impressive. The defense was looking great, and Jalen Milroe is really just coming into his own, passing and rushing specifically. He's been a very good rushing quarterback, and I know he has all year, but I feel like recently it's just been amplified a little. I think he had like 4 rushing touchdowns against LSU. Yeah, he's been great. They're playing their best football at the right time. So they got a game against Kentucky. Maybe they sleepwalk a little coming off the big win, but I trust Nick Saban to coach them very well, and I don't think they sleepwalk too much. Kentucky still is a good team. It's on the road, so I have maybe a little closer than you'd think, but it's still an 18-point win. And the spread's probably Alabama's probably covering if I had to guess. Um, so maybe this is at I don't know. I think Alabama should be able to win. Alabama's favored by 10.5. So I guess this is more than you would think, but yeah, I'm going Alabama. Number 7, Texas survives against Kansas State. They are without Quinn Ewers, so Malik Murphy is in, and he was playing good in the first half. Well, I don't know about good. He was playing fine, good enough for them in the first half. But in the second half, I don't know, the turnovers, some of the throws were very questionable. Against TCU, I don't think it matters too much. TCU is not that great of a team. So I am going to go with the Texas win. And yeah, if Texas wins out, they'll have a very good shot at making the playoffs. And yeah, the win over Alabama is huge, because if they don't have that, they would have 2 losses, but if they don't have that win, this win against Alabama is really just keeping their hopes alive, because if they were a one-loss team without the win against Alabama, like if their only loss was to Alabama, then I think the discussion for them being a playoff team would be very tough. So the win over Alabama is huge. So if they win out, they probably will get in, but it's just going to depend on what happens in front of them. Number 6 got Oregon, another one-loss team, and in all honesty, I think I was saying I kind of grouped them based on one-loss teams. If I had to do tiers, it would be Oregon would be in the middle of this tier. I would have well, actually, I'll talk about the tiers once I get to Michigan at number 1. Yes, I spoiled it. I still have Michigan. I'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. But yeah, Oregon at 6. They down against Cal. Now they got USC. I think Oregon's offense is better than USC's. I think the Oregon defense is a lot better than USC's. So I gotta go Oregon. They have it at home too. It's gonna be a shootout, but Oregon is just the better team here. Washington at number 5. Similar game to what I'm predicting with Oregon and USC. They win in a shootout. Their defense doesn't play great, but USC's defense is just worse. That's kind of been the story for USC this season. And yeah, home against Utah. I don't know. I feel like Washington just has just enough to get this one. The matchup does kind of favor Utah a little, but Michael Penix is a lot better than Barnes is for Utah. So, and Washington has it at home, so I gotta go Washington here. Number 4, Florida State, having a struggle game against Pitt. They didn't look great. I still have them at 4, but they were a little bit. I thought about Washington going to 4 and dropping them down to 5. I did keep it, but they are right on the edge for dropping out of the top 4. So they got a game home against Miami. I expect them to win. Miami is a pretty good team, but I think Florida State should be able to take care of business. They are at home. Ohio State struggles against Rutgers, and I was expecting the committee to at least drop Ohio State down to 2. They keep them at 1. I thought they would possibly drop them down all the way to 3. Ohio State had a rough game against Rutgers, losing at halftime. Rutgers was about to go down and score a touchdown and go up 16-7 in the third quarter. That would have been bad. The Ohio State gets the pick 6, which kind of turns the tide in the game. They really exploded in the second half and played a lot better. But yeah, Ohio State and Florida State with some struggle games. They both ended up making the box score look a lot better than how the game actually was. Home against Michigan State, I think Ohio State will dominate them. Michigan State's really bad. The defense is going to hold them. Rutgers is a lot better of a team than Michigan State is. And yeah, I think with this being at home, I hope Kyle McCord can look better because he has not been great this year. But yeah, I mean, if Penn State beats Michigan and then Ohio State's set up pretty good if Penn State beats Michigan, because even if Ohio State were to lose to Michigan, there would be a three-way tie for the top spot in the East, which I don't know who that would go to because it's some crazy tiebreak scenario. So if Penn State were to beat Michigan, that would buy Ohio State a little bit of room. And then if Ohio State were to beat Michigan, Michigan would have two losses. Ohio State would get in and probably finish the year undefeated because I don't think they lose to Iowa, and they would probably end up being the number one team. But yeah, I think they beat Michigan State here this week. Georgia, I still got it too. They beat Missouri. Missouri's a good team, but Georgia did ultimately come out on top, 30-21. The big test this week against Ole Miss. I do think they survive again. I don't know. I just can't pick against them. They are just. It's Georgia. The new Alabama, I guess you could say, but Alabama's still very good. But yeah, Georgia hasn't lost in a very long time, and I don't think it will come this week. I kind of already talked about this. And then number one, Michigan. They beat Purdue last week, and now this is their three-game stretch that I've been talking about all year. Penn State, Maryland, and then Ohio State. And yeah, I'm very interested to see how they play against Penn State, because if they don't play up to par, and if they possibly lose, this is a huge game for the playoff picture. If they do win and look good doing it, they'll stay number one if they look good and they win. If they win and look bad, I'm going to have to consider Georgia moving ahead of them, just because if Georgia beats Ole Miss, they will have beaten Missouri and Ole Miss, who are both top 15 teams in my eyes. And with Michigan, they would have one win over a fringe top 10 team. It would be on the road, but they wouldn't look good doing it. So I don't know. That's a conversation for next week, just because we got to see what happens. I do think Michigan will win, though. It's hard not to pick them. They've looked so dominant this year. That's going to do it for the Week 11 Top 25 rankings. Oh, and so for the tiers, really quick, I think Michigan and Georgia are in their own tier. So that's 1, 2. That's a tier. Then I think Ohio State's in its own tier at 3. Then I think this might be surprising to you. I think Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama are all in a tier together. And then I think Ole Miss and Penn State are in their own tier. And then I think Louisville and all those two lost teams all the way down to like Oklahoma, and all the way down to Tennessee, I guess, because I think I had Tennessee behind Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. All those two lost teams are in the tier, along with Louisville. I'm sorry, I can't get on board with Louisville. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is prime time for college football. Every week is just huge game after huge game. So yeah, we got an idea what these teams are, and now we just got to see how the season unfolds and now who wins what games. So make sure you subscribe. We got these every Tuesday night, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one, because these are this is it, the last month of the regular season. We're in November now, so this is the prime time for college football, so make sure you subscribe. And speaking of subscribing, this is the prime time for content on this channel. We got college basketball starting now. They started yesterday. Yeah, that started up now. So those top 40 will be every Monday night, NFL picks, weekly picks every Wednesday night, and then NBA videos every Thursday night. So we got loads of content. Make sure you subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed. Uh, we got my X and Discord linked in the description. You can follow that. You can join that. Whatever you like to do. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you. Again, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with those NFL picks.